next advisory committee meeting, which is set for next Monday, September the 11th at 4:30 p.m. at Maui Wowie. I do have copies of the agenda that I'll leave with the clerk so that you've got that for your records and then as a reminder. If you're able to come, we appreciate your support. We're always thankful for your support and the support of the community. We've got some good community support with this project and about 34 members scheduled to attend that meeting, so we're excited about that. So with that, I'll stand for questions. I told you I would be really brief, but essentially I just wanted to invite you and let you know that you're welcome and we would love to see you.
Thank you, JC. Any questions from council?
Madam Mayor.
Any RSVPs? Yes, Mr. Kavner.
Question, JC, for your meetings, are they a set time on a recurring basis? I'm unable to come this Tuesday, but would like to maybe attend in the future.
No, that's a great question, Councilman Kavanagh. Our meetings are scheduled for the second Monday of every month at 4:30 p.m. We're currently hosting them at Maui Wowie, although that location somewhat changes depending on, it could change depending on the future and where we end up permanently living. We hope to be in our location sooner rather than later, but that's where we're meeting now. And then we will, at this advisory committee meeting, set out the advisory committee agenda for all of 2018, so we can send you all of those dates, all 4 of them, so that you know well in advance.
Okay, well, thank you for being here.
Thank you, guys.
Look forward to seeing you next week.
JC.
That's right.
Okay, item 8B is under our Meridian Arts Commission for their update. Hi, Hillary. Hi, Ellen.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for having us here. We just wanted to provide you guys with 2 quick updates. One of them is more formal than the other. So in light of the conversation surrounding budget hearings and wanting City Council to have input on the projects that the Arts Commission is pursuing with the MAPS ordinance funds, we are here before you today to request authority to move forward with releasing 2 RFPs for murals at public sites. We'd like to receive or solicit RFPs or proposals for Home Court and for, there's a small piece out here that used to be a waterfall outside of City Hall on that little pathway walking over to the parking lot. So we'd like to get your guys' input and feedback on moving forward with those RFPs. I attached them to your council packet, but the biggest thing is that they're a little different in that we asked for public input beforehand and stakeholder input beforehand, mainly being the Parks Department, since these are their facilities, really, where we included suggestions from the public and stakeholders for content that could be included in those murals. So that way we're getting proposals that really fit the vision that the people that are using these facilities are interested in seeing. For Home Court, the features that we pulled out basically wrote down, MAC has determined that sports/activities, natural features from the region, and or community spirit would be valuable components to integrate into the mural. Originally we had talked about that being, instead of community spirit, we talked about it being featured people, but community spirit is a little more broad and lends itself very well to the city of Meridian. So we've made that change. And for the City Hall site, the 3 things that we kind of suggested for mural content were water and nature, community spirit and service, and or incorporating Meridian's history as viable concepts to integrate into the mural. So that's really what we're thinking that we should put out there. We should ask for proposals in response to, and then the Arts Commission and Parks Department and whoever is interested in serving on a selection panel could review proposals received and determine how to proceed from there, whether it's selecting an artist, not taking any of the proposals, or so on. We just wanted to reach out to you guys before we got the project going so that you know what our intentions are. We've also been working with MDC and asked them to contribute a line item for us, for the Arts Commission, instead of towards traffic boxes this next year, towards a mural at a private site. And the site that we're pursuing with them is the Meridian Mill, the Zamzows own. Our course for that location is not an RFP, but because there are so many different stakeholders, because MDC is the sole funder and the Zamzows, it's their private building. The Arts Commission's recommendation is that we commission a piece specifically for that site. So working with an artist that we kind of select and determine that would be a good artist to sit down with, start conversations with, make sure they've really got the vision from the Zamzows family, MDC, and the Arts Commission, and then again, before anything would be finalized, coming before City Council again. So tonight, we're just looking for your approval to move forward on these projects, and the process is outlined.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum?
Hillary, how are these sites selected?
These two public sites,
Yeah,
do you want to go through that a little bit? Or?
home court is, so I'm guessing that's on the side where the entrance is that? So the only way to really see that is people that are going to the home court, or is this something that's going to be visible from, like, Franklin, from the road?
I don't think it'd be visible from the road. No, it'd be visitors to home court, to the facility. The restriction with MAPS funds is that they have to be spent on public facilities, and home court was determined to be a really great asset that the city has that could use something like a large, vibrant mural that could really get people excited about what's going on there.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Gordon?
Hillary, if I recall, the proposal had, I think, a $500 limit,
For the City Hall site,
City Hall site, and how much was the other one?
$35,000, because it's such a large mural. We worded that as not to exceed 35,000.
Okay.
So, and that's also why this project in particular has to go through that RFP process, because it's
Sure.
above a purchasing threshold.
Madam Mayor, so remind me, I apologize if I've forgotten. What's the Arts Commission's process on an annual budget basis with the MAPS proceeds? Do they kind of line it out in the year in advance? So is this using this much of it for this one project, kind of falling in line with what the commission had anticipated?
Correct. When we had a meeting, it was about a year and a half ago, outlining the public art projects throughout the rest of their strategic plan, which goes through FY19. And the decision that was made at that point was that we'll continue to have MAC outline public art projects in accordance with their strategic plan. So again, the next time we re-up a strategic plan, you guys will already have the public art projects outlined in there. So we've planned for public art projects through FY19, and the murals project was what was discussed
Okay.
for this current year.
Okay. Perfect. Madam Mayor?
Mr. Gordon?
Probably have already got this already dialed in as well, but if there's a large mural that includes action and activity, that's great from one person's perspective. Color's great, and I guess in that regard, diversity, not only in the color, but in who's depicted from age and race and abilities and gender, and it's just an opportunity to kind of embrace what we're trying to promote and support. So it's probably already on your radar, but that's an opportunity for a large canvas like that.
Correct, yeah. And we talked about whether or not to include those requirements in an RFP, or if they would be included in an agreement later on saying, okay, this is your RFP, this is, for example, we want to represent another ethnicity in this group because we haven't represented them so far, and they're a big group in the city of Meridian. The RFP basically outlines that the proposal could be modified according to parks needs or city needs. So our hope was that allowance there really gave us flexibility to say, we love this idea, we like this concept, but these are the things we need to make sure to include if it's not already included. It's on our radar.
Sure. As long as it's on the radar.
However, I think that rather than an afterthought.
so,
If
too.
that's going to be priority criteria, you should have it in an addendum or something, and here are comments of things, elements that are important that would, I guess you can't say be smart to include in your proposal, but
I think we could find some language that we could include in that content suggestions from stakeholders and public input that says content should be all-inclusive. It should encompass multiple genders, religions, whatever, if, to make it as equal as possible.
It's just an opportunity to have that,
Yeah.
again, on the radar, and the proposal may not have people in it. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily want to constrict the artist's submission
Yeah.
to, the human element, so it could be something else. Doesn't have to be. But to the extent that you choose to provide something like that as your submittal, just an opportunity to embrace.
Well, yeah, I think that's a good point. And I mean, honestly, we don't know what we're going to get back.
Sure.
There aren't a lot of large-scale mural artists in our realm, and there are a few that are really good and could very easily bring that to the table in their first proposal. But of course, using discretion when we go through the items that are brought to us for proposal, and making sure that if we love this design, but it's missing diversity, that's something we could go back to the artists with and have them rework. And that's, of course, something that the Arts Commission is always aware of when we are working on public art projects. They should represent the public.
sense.
So yeah, that's on our radar.
One of our selection criteria also includes consistency with city policy and community values, and I think we've kind of outlined that as a value.
okay, any further comment or direction?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum?
I move that we approve the recommendation of the Arts Commission to move forward with their mural campaign.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to move forward on the RFPs. Any discussion? Mr. Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What else are you doing?
The second half to this was an update on Heroes Park.
Yeah. So we just wanted to provide council with a quick update on this project. We last presented to you the trail markers, and we'd also listed at that same presentation the heroes that would be presented or that would be featured in the primary installation. Since that last appearance, since my last appearance before council, we decided that another woman, again, speaking of how to incorporate more people, another woman should be featured in the primary installation. So we worked with the artist and came to the conclusion that we were going to replace Albert Einstein's image with an image of Rosa Parks instead. Just for your knowledge. And then the other discussion that came up after that presentation and update was that instead of using the police image that was featured in the artist's detailed plan, we could find, or we were asked to find an image of a local police officer that might be more easily recognizable as police officers, and then also have a local impact as well. So Shelley and the Parks Department have been working on finding an image with the police department that we could use. And we forwarded an option to Ken McCall, the artist, to see if it would work in his format. That's just a quick update.
Thank you. Any questions on that, council? We appreciate that. And you have something going on next week?
Art Week. It's starting. It's starting. It starts actually Saturday. So the community block party, they've got some arts activities going on there, but also 8 and 48 starts, or the performances are on Saturday as well. So you can start hiding your art as early as Saturday and finding art as well. And Dwight and Barbara Williams have already dropped off framed pieces. Cute, googly eyes.
So we did art this weekend.
Awesome. Yeah, if you guys can at least get out and try to find some art, it's a really fun way to get involved in the community and also meet some cool new people.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, council, have you refined your artistic skills? Poetry, music?
Interpretive
Well,
dance.
that one will be difficult to hide.
I can do also a city council meeting.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Thank you for the
you, Harry.
demonstration. Don't do that at home. It's very dangerous. Okay, we'll move to item 9 under action items. Item 9A is final plat for H 2017-0110. Caleb.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first action item tonight is a final plat for TM Crossing Subdivision Number 2. The site consists of 18.93 acres, currently zone CG, General Retail and Service Commercial. As you can see on where the red arrow is pointing there on the diagram on the left, the site is located north of Interstate 84 and just east of South 10 Mile Road. The first phase of this project is further back to the west. There are 5 commercial building lots and 1 common lot. The applicant is here this evening, Mike Wardle. There was one change that they asked to the staff report. That's why it's not on the consent agenda. Site-specific condition number 4, they've asked for, instead of property owner or business owners association, to be the responsible party for owning and maintaining the common area where the Purdom drain is located. So on the bottom of the screen, the diagram on the right, which is the final plat, the Purdom drain runs along that southern boundary. And instead of, again, the business owners association or property owner, they'd like to change that to operator. Staff does not have an issue with this request. Again, the applicant is here, though, if you have any questions or need any clarification. With that, I would stand for any questions.
Thank you, Caleb. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
just one for Mike when he comes up. Just curious what the distinction is with an operator, if it's not the owner or not an association. Curious who that is.
Madam Mayor, Mike Wardle, Brighton Corporation, 12601 West Explorer Drive in Boise. We're talking some technical issues, and let me just clarify that the common lot, and it's the only common lot in the plat, is purely the Purdom drain area. And it's not the type of thing that you can put into the responsibility of the business owners in the project itself. It's something that, in this particular case, by the recorded declaration and covenants and restrictions for the project, actually identify the operator as the declarant, or Brighton, the owner of the, the developer. So that we have then the responsibility, even though if there are maintenance costs, it comes out on a square foot basis from all of the properties, but there are 2 types of common area. One is parcel, and that would be anything that relates specifically to the building itself, and then there's project, and in this case, it's only drains. I would note that, Madam Mayor and council members, that the big lot here is the new Paylocity building, and so we're platting that one to get that one moving. But so just a technical term, and the staff agrees with the change that we requested, so we would ask your concurrence with that.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions? Okay. Seeing no further questions for staff or the applicant?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Borton.
move that we approve item 9A, the final plat for TM Crossing, H 2017-0110, with the requested change on condition 4A.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve item 9A. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh. Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 9B is a final plat for H 2017-0116. We'll turn this to Caleb.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The second action item tonight is another final plat. This one would have been on the consent agenda, but just didn't work out to get that on the consent agenda before this meeting. So just a brief overview of this project. There are 37 single-family residential building lots and 2 common area lots on 4.4 acres of land, zoned R15. This is the second phase of this project as well. Here's the overall aerial for the Verado project. Phase 2 is right here. You can kind of see the inset or that cutout from the existing home that's not a part. So this phase 2 goes in this general vicinity here. The rest of this phase 1 has already been final platted. And again, we do have a letter from the applicant agreeing to all the conditions in the staff report. And I told them not to be here tonight because they had agreed to all the conditions. So hopefully, if you have any questions, I can answer them. But other than that, Madam Mayor, that concludes staff report.
Thank you, Caleb. Council, any questions?
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
hearing none, I move we approve H 2017-0016, the final plat for Devco LLC.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item 9B. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh. Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer.
Aye.
Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 9C is a public hearing for trust storage, H 2017-0082. This applicant has requested to continue. That doesn't necessarily mean this council will. Caleb, can you maybe give us a little bit more detail behind the request to continue?
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, both the owner and the applicant are out of town today, so they were unable to attend the hearing. That's the reason for the request.
And they didn't know that this was publicly noticed for tonight?
We got this request for continuance, Madam Mayor, a couple weeks ago, so shortly after it was noticed. I don't know if we didn't consult them before we scheduled it with the clerk, but shortly after they found out, they realized that they were both out of town. So we've had this continuation request since shortly after we did the noticing for this project.
Okay, is there anyone here in the audience that is here on this item? No? Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd.
seeing none, I move that we continue the public hearing for H 2017-0082 to September 19th, 2017.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to continue this item to September 19th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All ayes. Item 9D is a public hearing for H 2017-0111. I will open this public hearing with staff comments.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The last action item for this evening is a short plat. It is located on the south side of Franklin Road, just west of Linder Road. The mailing address is 1845 West Franklin Road. It's just shy of 8 acres, 7.99 acres. It does have split zoning, as you can see on the vicinity map here. Most of it is zoned TNR, traditional neighborhood residential, and there's some small pieces along the northern part of the property along Franklin Road that are zoned CC. There's also a pond kind of on that finger that's also zoned CC, but a large portion of the site is zoned TNR. The request is for a short plat consisting of 4 building lots and 1 common lot, although I do want to draw to your attention that staff has a condition in the staff report to include 2 additional common lots. The plat on the left, not only is the drive aisle in a common lot, there are 2 open space common area lots with clubhouses and other open space here and here. Staff is recommending that they make those separate common lots apart from the common driveway access roadway, just for clarification on amenity lots versus use lots, but it's still one common lot as depicted. on this final plat, but again, there's a condition that this area here, including that pond I referenced earlier, which you can see on the site plan more, this all be on a separate common lot as well as down below. We did receive late this afternoon an email from the applicant stating that they were in agreement with the staff report. We'll also just call to your attention, the remainder portion of this this project has previously been platted as well. So again, this is almost the third phase 2, although this is a short plat, and so it doesn't, that nomenclature of phase 2 or phase 3 doesn't apply here, but this area here is also being developed by the same party and has gone through that process. So with that, Madam Mayor, I will stand for any questions you may have.
Council, any questions for staff?
I have none.
Okay, is the applicant here? Do you have any comments? You can't make comments from the audience.
Haven't done this since 2007, so.
If you'll please state your name and
My name
address
is
for the
Fred
record.
Jones. I represent Jim Jewett. I also represent Sawtooth Land Surveying in Emmett, 2030 Washington Avenue. Jim Jewett, who is the developer of this, has agreed to all the conditions and requirements that staff has presented, and we'll do the best we can to make sure everything's good to go.
Okay. Council, any questions for the applicant?
I have none.
Thank you.
There were no other signups.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to provide testimony on this item? Caleb, are there any elevations?
So, Madam Mayor, this is just a short plat, so it's the subdivision of the property. This actually went through our process, I'm ballparking something here, but about 12 months ago. The details for the townhouses and the multifamily have already been through the public hearing process, so there aren't any elevations with this. Again, it's just the subdivision of the land. The buildings have already been through that process.
If you'll please state your name and address for the
I am
record.
Doug Thompson. I live at 1846 West Greenhead Drive, which is just south of the property we're discussing.
Thank you.
Regarding the elevations, when he changed the townhouse part of it from single dwelling units to townhouse units, there was a problem with the windows that he met with those of us in the neighborhood about. He was going to move those windows and was supposed to have last year sent renewed elevations. I've never received those. I gave him my email address, and he obviously has my mailing address because he's mailed me several letters. And I also tried to make a phone call, and anyway, I've never received those updated elevations, which should have been updated, moving some windows from the back of the buildings to the sides of the buildings so that they didn't, from the upstairs, look directly into the backyards of those of us across the 10 Mile Creek. Okay?
Thank you.
You bet.
So, Madam Mayor, I can make sure that Sonia requests that Mr. Jewett send those revised elevations, and we'll verify that all conditions of approval for that project are complied with before, before building permits and occupancy and the like. But we'll make sure that Mr. Thompson, do the best we can to get Mr. Thompson those revisions to those elevations as they're provided from the applicant.
Was that agreement on the public record? Did he make that here so that we would have it as part of the findings? Yes, yeah, I'm sorry I didn't ask you that when you were up here. I apologize.
I think you did it just with them.
I don't know if he made that as part of the public arrangement here, but he made that in a meeting with those of us of the neighborhood on July 26th, 2016. When we met with him at the property, he talked about the change from a single dwelling to a double dwelling and that they were going to be two-story instead of single level. And at that point, we talked about the windows, And in order to get our agreement, he agreed at that point to move those windows.
Okay.
So I don't know whether he came here and actually made that change or not, which may be why I have never received the elevations. I feel a little bit like a frog that's been put in hot water or put in water on the stove, and there's been several changes to this property, and each time it's been to increase density, and this bothers me. I guess
I
is the problem.
appreciate that you brought it up, because certainly we would want those expectations and any of those agreements that might not have happened here to make sure that it is part of everyone's understanding, because plans can change without
Yeah.
notice.
And I don't know if he came here originally with a single dwelling plan or not, because I know we met with him several times on the property, and this is like the 6th or 7th change to the plan that has been proposed. You know, so there's been a lot of changes over the last 3 or 4 years to this property since he took it over, and golly, I don't even know where we are anymore, other than I know that there's been an increase in density, and I'm concerned about the elementary school to the south of us that was overcrowded last year, and now we're going to put another 80 to 100 homes in there, and the other 2 subdivisions that are going in next door to it.
Thank you.
It's a problem. Okay. Anything else?
I have
A
nothing.
question? Okay, thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
Caleb, is there any way you can verify that that his statement to change those windows was in the public hearing and is on record? Because if they're not on record, this is one councilman and is not in favor of.
Mr. Byrd, if you give me a few minutes, I can go into our Laserfiche system and see what was submitted and approved with that project. It'll probably take me a few minutes, though, to see what I can find. Give me a few minutes anyways.
You got the time.
Mr. Borton?
Well, Caleb's looking for that. The applicant's representative wanted to speak, and perhaps he may comment on it, may affirm that he's willing to provide that, and short-circuit the whole issue. Maybe not, but give you the floor at least.
I actually got pulled into this project about a month ago, so I don't know all the ins and outs and particulars of it. The representative, or the Jim Jewett wasn't able to make it tonight, and my boss asked me to represent it just to see that the process went smoothly. So I wish I could add more into that, but I can't. So I wish I had more knowledge for you.
No worries. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Look through the application, I can't find anything.
Madam Mayor.
Mr. Neri?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, so I'm looking at the second addendum to this development agreement for 12 Oaks that was signed by Mr. Jewett back in September of 2016 and then approved by this council after that. And there are elevations that are tied to this addendum, and that's the most current addendum to it. So I don't know if these elevations are matching or what the gentleman was saying Mr. Drew was supposed to change, but what he's tied to is what's in this agreement here from September of 2016.
Caleb, would it be possible that you could pull those elevations up?
Madam Mayor, I'm in the 2016 development agreements. Mr. Neri, what did you say that was?
It's under the 12, it says 12 Oaks.
12 Oaks.
It's the It's a development agreement
Got it.
modification. And what I'm looking at is the,
Towards the end of that document, I
yeah,
imagine?
there are attachments to it, and those attachments indicate the renderings of the buildings, elevations. And I can't tell what, I can guess what I think the rear of the building is on page 2. And they're marked rear elevations duplex. The rear elevation of the duplex and then on the multifamily buildings are all attached. So if they're supposed to change from this, this is the last thing that we have I can find in the record as to what the developer is obligated to construct.
Mr. Byrd?
Bill, that is what right now is acceptable, right?
Yes.
According to that. With that, Madam Mayor,
Mr. Byrd?
I would move that we continue this public hearing till September 19th and that Mr. Jewett appear in person to satisfy our concerns about the rear elevations.
Okay, I have a motion to continue and a second. Any discussion? Okay, the motion is to continue this public hearing to the 19th of September to have Mr. Jewett address the design, in particular the units that will back up to the neighbors. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all ayes. So we will continue this in 2 weeks to discuss this application. If you can bring the requests, I'm sure Mr. Hood will as well, but to let him know that we would like to get updated elevations so we can see what has been promised to the neighbors adequately reflected on our record. Okay? Thank you very much. Item 10A is ordinance 17-1744. Mr. Clerk, will you please read this by title?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 17-1744, an ordinance of the City of Meridian, Idaho, amending ordinance number 16-1703, the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2016 and ending September 30, 2017, appropriating monies that are to be allocated by the City of Meridian, Idaho in the sum of $2,786,317 and providing an effective date.
You've heard this ordinance read by title. Is there anyone who would like to hear it read in its entirety? Okay, seeing none. Council.
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve ordinance number 17-1744 with suspension of rules.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve this item. Mr. Clerk, will you call roll?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh.
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer. Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts.
Aye.
Councilmember Borton.
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd.
Aye.
All ayes, motion carried. Item 10B is ordinance 17-1745. Mr. Clerk, will you please read this by title?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian ordinance number 17-1745, an ordinance of the City of Meridian, Idaho pursuant to Idaho Code 50-1002 and 50-1003, providing for title and findings, providing for the adoption of a budget and the appropriation of $154,788,276 to defray the necessary expenses and liabilities of the City of Meridian, in accordance with the object and purposes and in the certain amounts herein specified for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2017 and ending on September 30, 2018, to levy all such appropriate taxes and levies as authorized by law upon taxable property, and to collect all authorized revenue, to provide for the waiving of the second and third readings pursuant to Idaho Code 50-902, and providing an effective date and the filing of a certified copy of the ordinance with the Secretary of State.
You've heard this read by title. Would anyone like to hear it read in its entirety?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I move that we approve ordinance number 17-1745 with suspension of rules.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve item 10B. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh?
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum?
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer? No. Councilmember Little Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Borton?
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item 10C is ordinance 17-1746. Mr. Clerk, will you read this by title?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. City of Meridian Ordinance Number 17-1746, Bannock Ridge Subdivision, File Number H 2017-0050, an ordinance of the City of Meridian granting annexation and zoning of lots 2 and 3 and a portion of Lot 1, block of Kachina Estates subdivision, as filed in Book 35 of plats at page 3016, Records of Ada County, Idaho, located in the southwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 10, Township 3 North, Range 1 East, Boise, Ada County, Idaho, as described in Attachment A, and annexing certain lands and territory situated in Ada County, Idaho, and adjacent and contiguous to the corporate limits of the City of Meridian as requested by the City of Meridian, establishing and determining the land use zoning classification of said lands from RUT to R4, medium low density residential district in the Meridian City Code, providing that copies of this ordinance shall be filed with the Ada County Assessor, the Ada County Recorder, and the Idaho State Tax Commission as required by law, and providing for a summary of the ordinance, and providing for a waiver of the reading rules, and providing for an effective date.
You've heard this ordinance read by title. Would anyone like to hear it read in its entirety?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
seeing none, I move that we approve ordinance number 17-1746 with suspension of rules.
Second?
A motion and a second to approve this item. Mr. Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Cavanagh?
Aye.
Councilmember Mylum?
Aye.
Councilmember Palmer? Aye. Councilmember Little Roberts?
Aye.
Councilmember Borton?
Aye.
Councilmember Byrd?
Aye.
All ayes. The last item on the agenda is future meeting topics. Anything under this item?
Madam Mayor,
Ms. Mylum.
I did want to have a discussion about convincing the sheriff to open a DMV in Meridian, or we can, a driver's license office in Meridian. But then I noticed that today they said they were going to move the registration part out and expand the driver's license at the Benjamin office. But if anybody's been down there in the last couple of years, it's incredibly disturbing, the number of hours you can spend in line, and it's not good for our citizens. So I think we should keep an eye on that and maybe, consider having a West County office over this way like we used to.
Be nice.
Council, some upcoming events. The community block party, as was mentioned earlier, is on Saturday. It's 10 to 5 in Kleiner Park, so please come out. Art Week events begin next week, and as Hillary stated, starting on Saturday, you have 8 and 48 performances. On Saturday, starting at 7 at the Meridian Methodist Church. You have family-friendly art at Slice on Sunday, music on the patio at Deja Brew on Monday, 3D printing at Unbound on Tuesday. More events next week, including the chalk art competition, Art Sip. You have Art and Brew, Meridian Symphony Orchestra in honor of Gene Kleiner. Kind of wraps it all up. And finally, I would also mention that Meridian High Warriors play the Rocky Mountain High School Grizz, and that's on Friday at 7 p.m. That will be a big rival game. And we're looking for nominees for the Meridian Star Award. These are due on Friday on September 22nd. So if there's nothing,
Mayor?
yes.
Just a reminder and plug that next Monday is an opportunity to tour the VRT's facilities in both counties. It's a bus tour, and multiple attendees from a wide variety of jurisdictions around Ada County will be attending. So if you have the chance, be well with your time.
Okay. Very
Madam
good.
Mayor.
Madam Mayor?
Oh, Mr. Buongiorno.
Thank
I
you.
love saying that name. Deputy Chief Buongiorno.
Also, this Friday at 2 o'clock in Boise is the Idaho Fallen Firefighter Memorial Service that's going on Friday down at Shoreline at the memorial site down there.
Thank you so much for noting that. I appreciate that.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Byrd.
I think you meant Meridian was playing the Mountain View Mavericks, not the Grizz.
Isn't it Rocky Mountain? No, it's
Oh, it's
Rocky Mountain.
playing Rocky Mountain? Oh, okay.
I know what I meant.
I selected hearing in here.
Too many mountains around here.
Yep.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Sidaway.
if I could just mention one last thing. Next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, is our annual Parks and Recreation Facilities Tour.
Yes.
I'd just like to put out the request that if you haven't already RSVP'd to Rachel, to please do so as soon as possible. We need to wrap up all of those RSVPs along with dinner requests for the box lunches this week. And we've got some new park sites under construction to take you out to, and a lot of great stories to take you out and see. So hopefully you can join us.
So that's Wednesday, the 13th at 5:30.
We'll start presentations at 5:30, and we're hoping to, the gather meet and greet starts at 5:15.
Okay, very good.
Kleiner Park, it will be our meeting location.
Thank you. Okay. There's nothing further. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All ayes.